everyone. Mike Brazier with the Ducks Unlimited podcast here with our producer, Chris Isaac.
How you doing?
We're in downtown Memphis, and we're going to be going over across the street to Old Dominick Distillery. They're going to be preparing a couple of cocktails for us, holiday-themed cocktails that you'll want to try out this season. It's going to be great. Come with us.
Hi, this is Alex Castle, our master distiller here at Old Dominick Distillery, and my name is Drew Wooten. I'm the bar manager. We're going to talk about and do a little demonstration for holiday cocktails. And I'm going to give you a couple of recipes. I'm going to make them. I'm also going to talk a little bit about my general philosophy for holiday cocktails. Because holidays mainly, I think the general purpose of the holidays is to purchase as many Old Dominick products as you can. It's about family. And you don't want to spend a lot of time after dinner starts when you're sitting around making a bunch of individual drinks. So these drinks both translate to being able to make ahead of time and making in batches. I'm going to talk about that a little, and you can see I have an Instant Pot here with the hot drink. Evidently crock pots are no longer a thing. The most important thing about the Instant Pot, it needs to be on the multigrain setting. I just made that up. I have it on Keep Warm. I have no idea what all of these settings are on the Instant Pot, but I have one. I no longer have a crock pot, so we're going to use it. But anyway, the first drink we're going to make is going to be our Festivus punch. I have a bunch of them in here, but I'm going to make 5 at a time. There are 5 of us here. And if you'll notice, I have water in these coffee mugs here. That is hot water. You don't want to put, if you can help it, a hot drink in a cold glass. It's going to cool the drink off unnecessarily. So I have hot water in here so the glass stays warm. And I have all the ingredients lined up, and I'm going to give you the recipe for one drink, but I'm going to make 5 at a time. So the first ingredient we're going to use is going to be our Memphis toddy, this bottle right here. That is a whiskey cordial. It's flavored with clove, cinnamon, citrus peel, which we use orange, lemon, and grapefruit. There's also going to be a little cardamom and black pepper. We steep that overnight, then we strain it and we sweeten it. We add a little water to it, we bring it down to 60 proof, so it's really easy. Very festive, though we do sell it year round, but it's a good holiday drink. So I'm going to just build this in the pot. So for 5 of these, I've got 6 1/4 ounces of the Memphis toddy. The next ingredient we're going to add, that was 1 1/4 ounces of the toddy, but like I said, I did 6 1/4, so we're making 5 of them. The next ingredient is going to be our Tennessee whiskey, which is this bottle right here. It's an 85 proof Tennessee whiskey. It's brand new, it's delicious. It's what we've been waiting for since we've opened. We've had it out about a month, and she did a wonderful job on it. It's fantastic. But we're going to put 3.75 ounces of that in there. And you don't want the burner to be too hot when you're dealing with alcohol. Alcohol boils, if I'm not mistaken, at 173 degrees.
About right.
So if it gets hotter than that, the alcohol is going to boil away, and it's not going to taste right. Everything's going to change as well. Now I also have a syrup made from cranberries. There's some apple cider and honey. So what I did for this is I took fresh cranberries and I blended them with equal part apple cider. And cranberries are not very sweet at all. But I blended those and then I strained it. Then I added 2 parts honey to that and heated it up to where the cranberry juice would melt in the honey. Honey won't dissolve in a drink. Now it will when it's hot, but typically I make it into a syrup to make it a little easier. So this is a cranberry honey, and there's 1 ounce of that per drink. So we've got 5 ounces of that straight in.
Now, is there a way to do that without using fresh fruit?
You could.
I'm really lazy.
Yeah. You could just use a rotisserie chicken instead of a turkey for dinner as well. No, you could. Cranberry sauce would work. I love fresh cranberry. If you make cranberry sauce for the turkey, like I love doing that, you can use that. And I use that. I use cider. I use sugar instead of honey. It would still work. The stuff out of the can, I've never tried it. Probably not going to, but it would probably work somehow as well. You'd probably need to melt it because it's pretty stiff. Yeah, and it looks weird. The can shape would need to go away somehow, but it would probably work. The last ingredient is going to be 2 ounces of Earl Grey tea. You can use any kind of tea. I brew it kind of strong because I want the drink, the tea to really come through, and I want it to be a little more bitter than sweet because we're also going to add some sweetened cream onto it. So that's gonna go in. And the drink is basically done at this point. So I'm gonna dump the hot water out of these, and the glasses are nice and warm. But for all you know on the video, they could be cold. I could be lying about that, but take my word for it, it's cold water. And then we're just gonna scoop the drinks in here. I'm leaving a little room, like I said. I'm gonna get some cream on there, on top. Now comes my favorite part of this drink, which is what I really think makes it, which is the heavy cream. So I took heavy cream, heavy whipping cream, it's basically the same thing, and I added 2 parts cream, 1 part powdered sugar. And I like it slightly whipped. The canned stuff, I guess you could do that.
I was gonna
to
ask,
go with
could
your
we, yeah.
rotisserie chicken and cranberry sauce out of the can.
At Christmas, you're cooking so much.
Exactly.
You don't need to add additional work.
Exactly. This is very easy though. Heavy cream. I put it in a protein canister because it shakes it well. You can put it in a jar. You can use a mixing tin. Basically, you want to get a little air into it so it'll float on top of the drink. And I have a 1/2 part powdered sugar. So I'm going to shake it up. I don't want it totally stiff. I still want it liquid. This is also the way I make an Irish coffee, although I prefer Old Dominick Tennessee whiskey in it. So it's not really Irish, a Tennessee coffee, but the same way. You want it, I'm gonna look at it a little bit. You can see it's got some air in there. I'm gonna shake it just a touch more. The idea with this is that it still remains liquidy, but it's got enough air in it to float on top. That way you get some of the hot liquid and some of the cold cream in your mouth at the same time.
Always a good combination.
Yeah. And if I've done it right, it might seep in a little rather than lay in perfectly, but it should float mostly on top. Oh, perfect.
Oh, there you go.
And you just want a little. Now the drink itself is kind of bitter, kind of strong. That's why I sweeten the cream. You can also flavor the cream a little bit. And one thing, I'm gonna add one more ingredient, just because I like it. A little Angostura bitters, which I think is delicious in lots of drinks. Now you can either just shake it in, you can put it in the drink. I like it on top of the cream.
If you want to get really creative, you could probably do a little design.
That's what I was gonna do. Yeah. You gave it away, but well, yeah. Let me show you. So I'm gonna get a little toothpick and I'm gonna swirl it through the cream. It doesn't look, it looks a little more fancy. There's some drops. And that is the Festivus punch.
That looks fantastic.
Like it?
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
That is the perfect holiday cocktail.
The cream is what makes it, I think. It's really, and I highly recommend doing an Irish coffee with just the whiskey, as long as it's Old Dominick Tennessee whiskey. A little bit of sugar and the cream on top like this is amazing. I see people do all sorts of weird things with Irish coffee. You don't need to.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, and you'll notice it doesn't layer perfectly. It starts seeping in, but all right, the next drink we're gonna do is gonna be our bourbon cider punch. And this is a drink we sell here at the Distillery. It really translates well to large batches. I mentioned earlier how I'd talk a little more about making large batch drinks. I'm gonna make one version of this drink, and then I'm gonna pour a few more out of the batch I make. If you're making a cold drink, which is typically shaken over ice, you need to account for the water that's being added. When you shake a drink over ice, you're adding water to the drink. People don't think about that when they make a large batch of a drink, but you need to account for that. I would like to be able to make a drink and then just put it in the fridge and dump it into the glass over ice, you know, because you want to spend time with family. You don't want to spend time making Uncle Larry a cocktail every time he wants it. You'd rather tell him to go to the fridge and get it himself. So I calculate a 1/2 ounce per drink. So this drink, I would just, if I wanted to make a 50 of them, I would multiply what I'm about to tell you by 50. And then I would add 25 ounces of water to the total batch. I'd put it in the fridge and just dump it straight in. So we're gonna start off with 1.5 ounces of our bonded Tennessee whiskey, which will be this bottle right here. It is 100 proof. I'm sorry, it's gonna be 2 ounces of that. we are going to add 1.5 ounces of apple cider. The better the cider is going to be, the better the drink's going to be. I use a fresh pressed one that needs, non-pasteurized, unfiltered cider. That's delicious. We're going to add 1/2 ounce of lemon juice.
Fresh squeezed.
Fresh squeeze, yes.
Always.
I don't ever recommend something that sits on a shelf and doesn't need to be refrigerated. You can get your hands on some better lemon juices or lime juices at some of the specialty stores, but it's not that hard to juice them. That's one thing that really will make a big difference. The little real lemon or real lime plastic bottle that's on the shelf, not refrigerated, I don't recommend it, but it might go well.
It works in a pinch.
Yeah, and you could dump it on top of the can of cranberries, stir it up to get the can shape out of it, and it would work perfectly. I'm also going to do 1/4 ounce of a honey syrup. Now the honey syrup, like I mentioned earlier, honey won't dissolve in a drink on its own. So I use 2 parts honey to 1 part water. I heat it up, dissolve it. Now it'll dissolve in a drink. And I've also got 1/4 ounce of cranberry syrup. Now this is different than the cranberry I used earlier, that would be too simple. So this is where you could use your can of cranberry sauce.
Okay.
Except I make this, I use fresh cranberries. I use equal parts cranberries, apple cider, and sugar, just white sugar. Then I add about 2 cinnamon sticks. I grate some nutmeg in there. I put a tiny bit of vanilla, and then I cook it. You cook it until the berries start popping, pull the cinnamon out, and then puree it, and then strain it. And it's really wonderful. It's great as a sauce, but it's great as a drink ingredient as well. And it looks like the canned stuff, not quite as stiff, but once you refrigerate it, the pectins in the fruit will make it really almost like a Jell-O consistency.
Okay.
But that's the drink ready to go. Now we're gonna shake it with some ice. And this, if you're making a large batch of it, I wouldn't bother shaking it. I'd just add the water like I referenced earlier. And we're gonna strain it. And I'm gonna make one for everyone. So I've had this made ahead of time.
How long does this stay good?
With the alcohol, honestly, I would like to say I make it every single day, but we use it all week. The alcohol preserves it, you keep it refrigerated. I was amazed at how long it would really last. It does really well. The alcohol is a preservative, and as long as it's refrigerated, it's gonna be good for at least a week. If you'll hand me that little thing of straws, we'll be ready to go. And if you want to garnish this, I don't here at the distillery because I'm a little lazy. A dehydrated apple would be fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's a waste of a straw.
That's fantastic. Just
Thank
a
you.
little tart.
Yeah. And it tastes like whiskey, and it's very refreshing. It's a very good holiday drink because of the apple. And like I said, there's cinnamon, there's some nutmeg in there, in the cranberry syrup. But we sell this year round.
It's light.
Yeah.
I can absolutely see drinking this in the summertime.
It's too popular to take off. I did this drink over COVID. We were able to do a cocktail with our tasting. So I did this drink just because I needed to do something. And then once people reacted to it, I realized I need to put it on the menu, and then it sells so well I can't really ever take it off.
So it's a good thing
Yes.
that came out of
Yes.
COVID.
And it's very easy during service because I make 4 or 5 gallons a week. We dump it straight in the glass. Most of the drinks we make individually, but this one I don't. So I love if you come in here and order one when we're busy because I just dump
Becomes
it
your
straight
favorite,
in.
They're your favorite customer.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that is the Bourbon Cider Punch. Well, thank y'all so much for watching our videos. Happy holidays. I hope you stay safe and enjoy your family, enjoy all of your holiday festivities. If you do find yourself in Memphis, or better yet, if you live here, you need to come and see us. We're at 305 South Front Street. We do full tours. We have a retail shop where you can buy as many cases of Old Dominick products as you want. We do have a 50 case limit, but you know, get as much as you want under that. And we have a full bar as well, and we do tours that are fantastic. So please come and see us. We'd love to have you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you all.